Welcome to It's No Secret, a podcast for Kiwis who want their money questions answered.
Ready, steady, go.
This podcast will answer the money questions you may or may not have on your mind. We'll talk to real Kiwis and share truths about our own financial lives.
Both the successes and the failures. Because the truth is, there is no secret to achieving financial freedom.
Ravi, welcome to It's No Secret. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Very excited to get in and have a chat about all things money. Before we get into the questions, I would love if you could tell me a couple of interesting things about you. What is something that you are like, the listeners need to know this thing?
Oh, I'm not sure if the listeners need to know this, but
Well, maybe I just want to know.
yeah, 3 interesting things. Okay, I'm a huge sci-fi buff, so I love like 90s and 2000s like sci-fi movies.
Nice.
So I'm talking about like Alien. I'm talking about Terminator. Dune is like a brand new movie, but like the comics and the book that it was based on came out in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, right.
So I'm a huge sci-fi nerd.
Yeah.
I actually want to get the new like Alien movies coming out.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I want to get like an alien tattoo somewhere.
Dude.
It's very weird. Very weird.
Wow, that is commitment.
Yeah,
That's.
yeah.
I mean, kind of cool.
Yeah.
Everyone has their hobbies. Yeah. I'm definitely not a sci-fi fan. Ollie is quite into it, and he would happily like go to the movies by himself to watch it. But I just don't get it. The only thing I know about June is that Zendaya is in it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
She's
and
great.
Timothy
Apparently.
Chalamet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great.
Okay, number 2 and 3.
Number 2. I'm actually quite an avid snowboarder.
Nice.
So my family have been into like skiing and snowboarding for like since I was like 6 years old, which is actually a really weird thing for a South Asian family.
Okay.
To put it in a PC way. There's not many like brown people on the mountain. And so when I first went up there, I hated the cold at first.
Right.
Funny story about my first time snowboarding. My brother took me up. My brother loves snowboarding.
Really?
For
Like
his
die
honeymoon?
hard?
No, for his honeymoon, he took his wife snowboarding. Granted, they're in the French Alps and it's like a beautiful place to be.
Could be worse, yeah.
But he went snowboarding for his honeymoon.
I thought you were going to say, you know how it's quite a trend to get married on the snow?
Oh,
How
yeah.
they like, you're skiing down the hill and
Yeah.
you've got your wedding dress on and stuff?
I'm sure if he could do it again, he would do it on the snow with like 600 people at an Indian wedding. Yeah,
Oh,
it would
yeah,
definitely...
that would be quite cool, actually.
So the first time I ever went snowboarding, my brother took me up, and he's the kind of guy. He's like the first on, last off sort of guy. So he'd
nice.
be up there at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Like
ready to
frothing.
go, right?
Yeah.
Frothing. He'd go up at any weather condition.
Wow.
He took me up in a storm.
First time.
First time ever setting foot on a
Oh my
snowboard,
God.
like strapping myself in. He took me up in a bloody storm, and I tried to get on the chairlift and fell off, obviously, because it's my first time snowboarding.
Yeah.
And he got on, so I had to get on the chairlift behind him. And so I was like, got on this chairlift, scared like out of my brains, and he was trying to yell to me how to get off a ski chair on a snowboard. And we're in the middle of a storm, so I can't hear anything he's saying. So I am just like shivering from anxiety and like the cold, wondering how to get off the chairlift. And I thought the best way to do it would just to be step off like a human being, walks like down a stair maybe. And I stepped off, fell like flat on my face, and the snowboard got stuck in between the chair has like grated wooden planks, I guess, and it got stuck in between there. And I started getting dragged around the chair. And thank God the person at the top was paying attention, because I nearly like went off the cliff.
Oh my goodness.
And if that wasn't bad enough, I then had to learn how to snowboard. Like, because I was like, this is awful. I can't do this.
And I only just made it to the top.
And he was like, well, there's no other way than down. And I was like, can we not get a ski-doo or something to take me down? He was like, nope, you have to learn. And I was like, great. So, yeah, it only got better from there.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's pretty hard to recover from,
Yeah.
especially because I feel like whenever you go on a ski lift, it's like I'm terrified that I'm always going to fall off.
Yeah.
There's so much shame around, like, oh, you that person that doesn't know how to get off the chairlift.
Yeah, totally. And my third thing that you don't know about me, you might not know about me, is I just spent 4 hours yesterday getting a new tattoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is it?
So I've had a snake for a very long time. You can't really see it, but it's a snake that starts on my forearm and then kind of like twirls around my arm and then onto my chest.
Yeah.
And it's been, so funny story. I got the outline. I got all of my tattoos very close to me buying my house that I live in at the moment. And I knew as soon as I bought that house, I would not be able to afford tattoos. So I had like a 6-month window, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to get as many tattoos as I can. And so I got like 4 tattoos in that time.
Wow.
And got the outline of this. And then I bought my first house. Oh, not my first house, but the house that I live in. And never got it shaded. And so it's been like that for 5 years. And I finally hit up the tattoo artist, and thank God he didn't retire. He finally got around to doing it. So I spent 4 hours yesterday in the chair, which is cool. But yeah.
4 hours is quite a long time, regardless.
Yeah.
To sit still.
First hour was sweet. Second hour was sweet. And then I started to feel it after the third.
Yeah.
Fair. I definitely wanted to just get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I got a headache from like just the needle zing you. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to know a fun fact about me?
Yes, I do.
I have one tattoo, actually.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't tell anyone, obviously. Now everyone knows.
Yeah.
But it's pretty hidden, and I got it when I was doing a university exchange in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah?
And I think I was 19, and I was like, I just need to do this once and see what it's like. It's a triangle, and I'm not going to tell you what it means because it barely means anything.
You're part of a pyramid scheme.
No, this is not a pyramid scheme. But it's pretty embarrassing. And it was really expensive it was like 150 Canadian dollars.
Really?
For a triangle. Literally 3 strokes of the thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got ripped off, and just naive Christine made a lot of stupid choices.
And so not keen to get any more?
No, I think after that I was like, oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I kind of there's this really fine tattoo artist, I think based in Auckland somewhere, and I'd love to get the triangle made into mountains. So it's like a little bit,
that's
made.
cool.
Because then I think that would actually mean something to me rather than like this thing. And it also, I didn't look after it, so it's kind of like bled a little bit.
Yeah,
so it's just not a vibe.
So are you you're the kind of person that wants a tattoo to mean something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
I kind of made up the meaning afterwards. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Nice.
So ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, love it. Well, I mean, we've kind of touched on a couple of money things in talking about these 3 interesting things. So you obviously love tattoos, and that's something that you value enough to put money towards.
Yep.
You mentioned that you own a couple of houses, or you've also owned a house. The one that you live in for 5 years is what? And then you obviously have reached a point now where you can afford to be getting more tattoos or getting them finished. Do you want to, I think of those things, I'm probably most interested in the home ownership piece, just around really would love to understand your home buying experience and buying the first and second in terms of like, how much did you buy for? Where did you buy it? Why did you get another property?
Yep.
The whole thing.
Yep. So I started my investment journey / property journey very early on in my life. So, it was a long time ago. The first house I bought with my parents. I was about 21, 22, so I was very young.
Yeah.
The way that it worked with my parents was that my parents came from Fiji and fled to New Zealand because of the military coup that was happening there. Mm-hmm. Came to New Zealand with absolutely nothing. Lived in Hamilton for a while. Mum and dad, extremely hard workers, and they had managed to now built a pretty big property portfolio.
Nice.
And they're mortgage free on all of the properties.
Wow, good for them.
Yeah, amazing.
Cool.
Such an amazing story.
Yeah.
And definitely something that I'd never understood as a kid. I'd always drive around to these properties with them on the weekend, and dad would be fixing stuff up, and I never understood why. I was
you're like, can we go play now?
yeah. And I was like, why? Why is dad fixing this random house? And I never just understood the concept that my parents owned it and people lived in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never put it all together.
Yeah.
But obviously, growing up, I started to realize like, oh, they've actually done like some pretty impressive things, especially being like two immigrants to a brand new country. So obviously they've been quite heavily invested in the property market. So they wanted the best for me. So they went in on a house with me. So I came up with a deposit, but they put themselves down for the servicing with the bank. So got that first property, and I was very lucky. My job at university was to be a photographer, and so I was working like 40 hours doing uni. I wasn't working 40 hours, that's a lie.
Like
I
maybe
was
some
supposed to be
lectures.
working 40 hours. I was probably doing like 20. I'm not going to class.
Can relate.
Yeah. And then I was doing like social media and photography for like different restaurants and bars and nightclubs and stuff throughout uni, and so I'd like earned quite a lot of money. And the best thing about it was I was a photographer at a nightclub, and I had uni mates, and so I could like get them into the club for free, and like you'd get like a little bar tab, and so like you're like drinking for free, and like you'd be doing that anyway as a uni student, but you'd be paying all this money where I was getting it for free. So I was very lucky.
Yeah, very popular.
Very popular in my friend group. And like the best bit about it is, I don't know if you ever remember, but next to this bar called BCC, which is now the Hotel Britomart, there was a place called Better Burger.
Yeah.
It was like the first ever
so
Better Burger
good,
in Auckland. And it used to be open at like 4 a.m. when like the nightclub next to it closed. And so
1885?
Yeah. God, I feel like saying that. Yeah. And so I did the social media for Better Burger for a while. And so I would get like $100 bar tab there every week to go eat burgers.
At 4 a.m.
At 4 a.m. And so that was like, I was like the best mate to have around at that point, because like we'd just go to the nightclub and then we'd go eat burgers after. It was great.
That is so good. Literally like best friend ever to have during your day.
Yeah. And so like the result of that was that I was earning some pretty good coin, because I was like going around to like I think like 3 different nightclubs per night on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Right.
And I was charging like $200 a pop to
Wow.
do photos and then like upload them to Facebook when that was a thing.
Did you sleep?
Not really, no. So
Okay.
I worked very hard. Like
Yeah.
I barely slept,
Yeah.
partied a lot, but also worked a lot, and then like did uni on top of that. And so anyway, 4 years later, I had like a fairly sizable deposit. That helped with the deposit for the property. And then like mum and dad kind of like knew that I was like out at uni partying all the time and stuff, so they were like, we'll look after the property, don't worry about that. So they were like, they kind of like rented it out. We rented out to Kāinga Ora actually, and they managed the entire property for you. So we just did like 5-year lots. In fact, I still do it with them because they're so great.
How do you even like, how does that happen?
You just approach them.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
so
you're like,
they always-
hey, I've got this property. Do you want to?
Yeah, so they have like a very strict criteria about like where they want to have like their tenants basically. The house has to be in a reasonable condition, and there's a bunch of things that they have to go through. But assuming that your property meets all the checks, you just lease it out to them. And so they lease it out at like 5 years at a time.
Oh, wow.
I think it's like 3 years with the right to renewal for 2 years. I think different contracts are made up differently, but it's basically hands off. You get the rent in your account every week or month, and then it's not like in the contract they return their house to you in the state that you've left it in with them.
Yeah.
So it's all like pretty hands off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're committed that if there's any damage, they'll fix it.
They'll fix it at the end of the lease term. Yeah.
I can hear like obviously that can be great in terms of having the fixed term, but at the same time, like rising interest rates.
Yeah.
What happens if you can't service the mortgage? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, can you break the contract? How does that work?
I don't think you can break the contract.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of the risks, I guess, you take with not having it at market rates and not managing it yourself, or having a property manager that's raising the rents for you. There is a ratchet clause in there. I think it goes up based on either CPI or like inflation, but it's like 1% or 2% maybe.
Right. Okay. So you're basically trading off those things for the certainty.
Security,
Yeah.
Oh, and the idea of not having to manage it yourself as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
And we've had like such great tenants in there. Like the house next to it, the house next to my house, and that house is both with kāinga ora, and the tenants are actually brothers and sisters.
Oh, cool.
And immigrant families, having a family around is super important.
Yeah.
And so they've been there for like a decade
Oh,
together.
that's so cool.
And so it's like we would
That's
never
awesome.
ever, well, like I don't have any intention ever of like, moving or anything, because it's just so cool to like be together with your family like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and they've like looked after the property great and stuff. So I have that property, and then in 2019 I bought my house that I live in, and so that's a really interesting story. I was trying to get into a house of my own. I was flatting in Ponsonby and I was hating it. It sucked.
Classic villa.
Yeah, classic
Moldy.
cold, damp Ponsonby villa. It had the tiniest kitchen, like so small that we couldn't even like cook breakfast or like lunch in there. So we'd end up just going to a cafe, and it was a money drain.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I just didn't want to spend any time in the house. And when you've got Ponsonby around you, you just spend all your time out. But obviously that means spending lots of money. So I wanted to get in a house of my own, and then
Were you living with your partner?
no,
Fiance?
not at that time. I was a single Pringle, and then
Love that.
yeah, and then what happened was I was like, I want to get into a house of my own, but I couldn't service a mortgage with like a 2 or 3 bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can't figure this out. I'm never gonna be able to buy my own house. Like I needed to problem solve, and so I just like had a really open discussion with like the bank, had a really open discussion with like my employees, had a really open discussion with my parents. And so the plan that we got to was, you can't afford a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, but you can afford a 5-bedroom.
Say what now?
It's a really weird concept, but the idea is that like I would rent out every single room in the property, and with 2 or 3 bedrooms, renting out 1 or 2 rooms didn't really make much of a difference, but renting out 3 or 4 rooms actually made quite a sizable difference.
Interesting.
So I went to my parents and I was like, look, I can't afford a 2 or 3, but I can afford, it looks like the numbers work on a 5. All I need is like somebody to guarantee the bank that I can afford that size of a mortgage. And so, I talked with my parents, and a few months later they were like, okay, yeah, I think we get this. And they were like, are you sure you can like rent out the properties? Like, are you sure you're going to be able to manage tenants and stuff? And I'd be like, I've been living with losers for the last like 6 years. I'll be absolutely fine. And then I was like, and I was also like, I can take really good photos of it. And like, I was like, I'm a Facebook like expert. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And so they were like, fine, we'll do it. And I guess there's a really good lesson in there, because like, I'm sure so many people out there feel like they're stuck and feel like they'll never be able to get into a home, and or whatever it might be. But like, the lesson in there is like, you just had to get creative.
Yeah.
Like, and you had to like think outside of the box, literally, and just like find a way to make it work. Like, if it's real, if it's something you're really determined to do, you just have to find a way, and you have to like be super curious and ask questions and ask for help, because I would have never gotten to that conclusion if I hadn't just started talking to people and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. What do you think?
Yeah. When you said you spoke to like your employer, and then you obviously spoke to the bank and stuff, my brain immediately went to, but isn't the bank gonna not help you? Like, why? I mean, yes, they want you to lend, like they want to benefit from the fact that you're going to choose them to lend, but why would they try to work it in your favor? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also, what's the conversation with your employer?
Yeah. So the bank, it was a conversation more with the banker. At that time, I didn't know about mortgage brokers, so I talked to the banker, but would definitely talk to a mortgage broker now.
Yeah.
But the banker did say, I was like, look, I really want to do this. I can't but I can't figure it out. Like, can you help me?
Yeah.
And so he was really good. He was like, this is your income. He showed me the serviceability calculator, which is like the calculator that the banks use to figure out if you can afford a house or not.
Yeah.
And he was like, so this is your income at the moment. This is your deposit at the moment. This is what you can get based on all of these things. But then we started looking at like all the other criteria.
Right.
And so one of the criteria was like border income. And so like that was like,
Light bulb.
Yeah. Okay, what if we increase the border income by X amount? Or, what if my income could go up by like 10 grand? Like, what difference does that make?
Yeah.
And so it just like, I didn't go in there with, I didn't go into the conversation with like specific questions. I just said like, can you help me? Can you help me figure this out? And to his credit, the banker was really good in the sense that he just like shared his screen and basically like helped me workshop it.
Yeah, right.
And this a little bit same with my employer. We figured out that if I could pump up my income a little bit, we could bump up my serviceability, which is one of the criteria the bank need for a mortgage. And figured out that if I could get it up by 10 grand, I could increase my serviceability enough. And so I went to my employer and I said, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I need my income basically up by 10 grand, which is a promotion. I said, I understand that like this isn't my performance review, but I would like, I think it'd been like 6 months or something, but I've done X amount of things over the 6 month period. What I would like to do is ask for a 10 grand increase, and in return I'll basically like sign myself to you for the next, I think, a year or 2 years or something. And so I said, I know this isn't my performance review. I've only done like 6 months since my last pay performance review, but I guarantee you that I'll be sticking around for the next year. And I'll do X amount of things to kind of make up for it. And my employer was really good about it and was like, okay, yeah, that sounds fine.
Nice.
And so I was kind of like committed to that place. It meant that I had security as well in my back pocket. It meant that I wasn't going to get like, because if there was like a conversation of like, you getting fired or something, you probably wouldn't have agreed to it. So I was kind of like, ooh, good. That's a good sign. So yeah, that's how those conversations went.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that they responded well to that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very cool. And good lesson about getting creative as well.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm now thinking, how do I get creative with my finances? Love it. Now, well, actually, is there anything else? How did you structure your mortgages?
So I've had them both. I've had all mortgages. So 3 mortgages.
Wait, so do you have 3 houses?
3 houses.
So where's the other one?
Bought my latest one with Lighthouse, and it was a 2-bedroom townhouse in Ellerslie.
Oh yeah, nice.
And it was just part of my financial plan that we needed another property to meet like our retirement goals, and so that was a super easy process. I had a mortgage broker. We had a list of like trusted developers, so we bought a townhouse in Ellerslie. So that's been
nice.
Just ticked over a year now since that's been settled. So
congrats, that's exciting.
Thanks.
I had no idea that you had another one.
That's
cool.
Yeah.
So did you do like a 5 or 10% deposit on that?
It's an investment property, so we did 20.
Okay.
20. Yeah.
Okay.
And so all the mortgages are on principal and interest. So you're paying off a little bit of the principal of the loan as well as the interest proportion. Now I know that a lot of people, especially a lot of property investors, they recommend to put your interest or your investment properties on interest only and pay off as much of your owner occupied debt as possible. But my parents have done P&I their whole life, and they're like, credit to them, they've like chipped away at it every single time, and they've had a lot of success with that, just having everything on P&I and just like slowly paying it down. And so that's what I've done. And what we do is we have, so here's a bit of a money hack that I do. I don't accept minimum repayments.
Okay.
So I think minimum repayments are not good enough, and I always force myself to pay quite a bit more than the minimum repayment. And the reason for that is because I want to try and knock off as much principal as I can.
Yeah.
And so I go up to like what the bank will allow me. So some banks I think allow you to pay like 5% off. Okay. Either in a lump sum or like during the period of your term. So for example, for my owner occupied property, they only allow you to pay off 5% of the loan every every 12 months.
Why is that? Is that just to keep the
Just
debt?
so you don't pay it off too quickly.
I see. So, okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
So they, so I pay my my weekly repayments every year, but then we have like a savings account, and then we put it all in the savings, and then we just put that, like, it might be like 20 grand or something. We just put it every year, plop it on the mortgage when we refix the mortgage.
Yeah,
And
nice.
so that's what we like to do with all of the properties, is just like keep putting lump sums towards it.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal, the lesson is like, you shouldn't be paying repayments. You should be trying to get that mortgage paid off in, like, 15 years, 20 years, not 30.
Yeah, okay.
Because that just helps you so much more in the future. And then it also helped me, like, I was really lucky with like 7% interest rates. I actually didn't have to change my repayment.
What do you mean?
So I'd been paying basically what 7% interest rates were since 2019.
Oh, so that's kind of your standard.
Yeah, so
see.
I didn't have to change my repayments when we refixed on really high rates. And like, it doesn't really sound like much, but mentally, I was like, oh, nothing's getting more expensive in my life. Like like for everybody else, mortgages, their mortgage repayments were increasing. Sometimes they're like 3 times, like going from 2,000 to 6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like it was like a crazy change.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't a change at all. And so that to me was like a really good like reminder, like, oh yeah, I'm doing the right thing, and just like learning to live off less than you earn, basically. Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot of discipline there, which is great.
It's forced discipline.
Yeah.
So like one of the, like, I'm actually not super great with money, but I'm great with controlling my environment.
Yeah, okay.
And so like I believe you don't have to be good with money to be wealthy or to have lots of freedom. You can just control your environment.
Say more.
So an example of that is and like after I bought my house, I'm pretty sure I'll backtrack this. One example of controlling your environment that I learned was that when I was in that cold, moldy Ponsonby flat villa, I was always on Instagram. I was always seeing what other people were up to, whether it was like, driving fancy cars or being at the latest festival or being at like some cool like pop-up event or something. And I was like very much consumed in what other people were doing. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a cold, moldy Ponsonby villa, you're like, I want to get out of here. So you just go and do stuff. And so you're always out at cafes, you're always out at brunch, you're always out at bars, meeting people. You're never like in your own home, which is wild to think, because I was paying like $250, $300 a week for rent. Yeah. So I was basically just like sleeping
the Ponsonby premium.
Yeah. And what I found was like, it was just draining my money. Like I had like, it was really bad. And so I had to learn to control my environment. And so one day I just like deleted my Instagram, and I was like, if I don't see it, surely like I don't have a temptation to go and like get involved with it.
Yeah.
And it was honestly like one of the best things that I have done is getting rid of like all of my social media. And it like freed me up so much. It made me really think about like what I value, because I wasn't like caught up in trying to see value in what other people found valuable. It was actually all about me, because I wasn't trying to impress anybody. I wasn't trying to be like seen somewhere or be seen with somebody or anything like that. It was actually just all about me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anybody to validate me. The only person I had was myself. So I had to like learn really quickly to like be okay with who I was. I know this is getting real deep.
No, I'm here for it. Keep going. Tell me more.
But you have to like get okay. Like once you get okay with yourself and who you are, your like choices on like what you spend become very different. You become a lot more like conscious of like, I value this, I don't value that. This doesn't give me anything, or this doesn't serve me in any way. Like I'm not going to spend any time and energy. And, you know, like everything, like if you just, if you find value in it, that's absolutely fine. But don't do it for other people. Do it for yourself.
Yeah. I feel like you get very ruthless about what you will and won't spend money on, but also like unapologetic about saying yes and no to things. You know,
it's so much easier,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it's like the decisions become so much less like convoluted, and there's a lot less like cogs spinning in your head. You're kind of just like, nah, I don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm happy and content with that decision and
Yeah.
happy days.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
other thing of like controlling my environment was I have a uniform.
Is that why you were always wearing black?
Yeah. So I have a thing of like
Ah.
always wearing black.
It's like the Steve Jobs thing.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
a little bit.
Or the Mark Zuckerberg.
I haven't read the book, but everybody does call me Steve Jobs, so I assume it's a Steve Jobs thing.
Do they?
But my thing, you tell me if it's a Steve Jobs thing.
Okay.
But my thing is like I always just wear black or dark colors because they always match.
Yeah.
So I can like, I can buy something like a piece of clothing and like know pretty well that it would match with the rest of my clothes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do is I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday uniform. So I wear the same thing on Mondays. I wear the same thing on Tuesdays. Not the same. So I have like I have a Monday outfit, a Tuesday outfit. They're different outfits.
Okay.
Wednesday outfit, Thursday outfit, Friday outfit. They're all different outfits, but I wear them weekly.
So talk to me about like your Sunday night prep. Are you like, hey, have I got all my clothes? Do I line it up? Like,
Oh yeah.
Is that the
I'm a
vibe?
big fan of a steamer. Have you got a steamer?
no, what's that? Oh, you mean like an iron?
It's not
but
an
a steamer.
iron,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's a steamer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I just like watch. I was watching like House of Dragons recently.
Yeah.
And I just watched like House of Dragons and steam my clothes. Best Sunday ritual ever. It was amazing.
I love this.
Yeah.
Wait, but do you like lay them out Monday? You know how you have like
Oh.
those pill packets that
No.
are like
I'm not that crazy. Do I sound that crazy?
No, but I like,
No, I just
They say-
memorize what I have. But you know
Yeah.
what the funny thing is? I don't think anybody notices. Like even people I work with.
I feel like people are going to listen to this
Yeah.
podcast and be like, oh my goodness. Next time I see you, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's Thursday. Yep. Right on cue.
Yeah, the t-shirt and pinstripe pants. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
I don't
It's
like. I
quite smart.
realized.
It's like max efficiency.
Yeah, it's like you wear the same thing every week. You don't wear it too much where like they get smelly and gross. And then you still look like you're changed. It's not like you're wearing the same exact thing every day. You're
Wait, so
still
how
changing it
often are
up.
we washing the clothes?
Oh, every week.
Okay, so it's like all on Saturday,
Yeah.
it's washing day, we've recycled through, and
Yeah.
it dries by Sunday night,
Oh,
and
and
then
I
you're
have
like,
like
good to go.
I have multiple versions of the same thing. So,
Oh,
so
so,
like
yeah.
this shirt, I'll have like three
colours,
Not three colors.
Oh, sorry.
Three of the exact
black.
same shirt.
Yeah, okay, got it.
yeah, all black.
But then how do you tell the difference if it's worn or not?
Oh my God, now I'm sounding crazy. So I have an order in my wardrobe. So everything works from left to right. The most left thing is the most clean thing. And then as I go through the week, they end up on the right hand side.
Oh my goodness, I love
Is
this
that
so
crazy?
much. I mean, maybe
That
not. It's
sounds
not
crazy.
crazy, but it's maybe just particular, and that's okay.
Yeah.
My sister organizes her clothes by color, so it's all like
Oh,
color.
my
You know how
fiance
they
does
do
that.
that in stores.
Yeah.
But I think that system actually kind of works because then you're like, okay, I know where everything's at. you
Yeah,
know?
it makes sense in my head. But I have one coat,
Really?
and I just have one coat that fits everything.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like give yourself like the freedom of having no choice. It's like
That's
just,
a quotable moment, people.
just something you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
And it's like my clothes now are not something I have to think about every morning, and I try and reduce the amount
A mental load.
of mental load every single morning.
So do you apply this to other things like what you eat?
I'm really where we get my food bag.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which we really like.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but that's
have to think about it.
You don't have to go shopping. You don't
Yeah.
have to think about what's for dinner.
Yeah, we just like it just turns up and like it's like, oh, this is what we're having tonight.
Happy days.
Happy days.
Love that.
And it's just like the mental, and I think like people can do that with their money too. Like automatic payments every time I get paid. It just so I get paid on like a Wednesday every fortnight. On Wednesday night or Thursday, at 12, the payments go out. So on Thursday morning, I wake up and all of the money is exactly where I need it to be.
Yeah, nice.
My spending money is in the account that's attached to my debit card. My savings money is in my savings money. Like the mortgage top-ups are already in those mortgage accounts. Like it's all just done, and you don't have to think about it.
Love it.
Yeah, like it applies to money so much. We have a thing at work. It's like if your money takes more than 10 minutes a week to manage, you're doing it wrong. It should be that simple. That it takes less than 10 minutes to manage every week.
So simple that you do what? Like you're like, okay, I know where my investments are. They've all been paid. I took on my mortgage. It's all good.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
Yep.
Like you just check,
you have
like
a bills
check
account,
in.
and all of your bills come out of that account. And I get it. It sucks. Like when I first set up that account, I'm like, oh, I have to remember every bill and then like change the like account number that it gets sent out of. It's annoying.
Yeah.
But like it just pays dividends in the future because you just know all of that money comes out of that account and never touches your like everyday account that is your spending money. And I have like an account that basically goes, my spending money goes to zero by the time my next paycheck comes in.
Oh yeah.
So I like run my account right to zero because I know like that's my spending money, and that's okay to run it to zero because my savings is in my like I'm doing all the things I need to do for my future self.
Yeah.
So like spending down to zero is not a problem.
So where is the grey? Like where's the room for spontaneity? Because
that's
like
something I struggle with.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something something I've struggled with I'm just such a routine person, and that was fine when I was single. But when I met my fiance, you're a pretty boring guy if you're just doing the same thing all the time.
Because is she as structured as you? No. And
No,
so how
she's
does that
very
work?
disciplined and structured, but just in a completely different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of what? In other areas?
Yeah, just in other areas.
Okay.
And I think a relationship you can't have like super structured and routine, otherwise that doesn't sound like a very good relationship.
Yeah.
Yes. And so so one thing I've actually we've recently done, which is kind of like a little like money hack, is we've like struggled to like do like weekly dates and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're like, we need to get back on that. We used to do that all the time. And so, but we're like, oh, like we both have work. Like she's doing a PhD. It's super busy. Like I get to the office at like 7:30 and I'm back home by 7, and then I'm just like tired, rah.
Yeah.
And so we like made a very conscious decision that is actually a lesson in like what you value. I really value my relationship. We have to do chores every week. I was like, you know what? We're going to pay money to get a cleaner in every week. We're going to spend that time that we usually do on chores. We're going to go out on a date and like just do something fun.
Love it. Ollie, I hope you're listening.
But it's like when you find out what you value in your life, how great is it that sure you could be saving the money and doing the cleaning yourself and probably do a better job yourself, but like that's not the point. The point is like you really value this thing. That's what your money, that's why you go to a job every day, is to do the things you love to do.
Yeah.
And use money as a tool to either decrease the amount of things you don't want to do or like save for yourself or save for your future self. So yeah, that's what we're going to start doing, is like get a cleaner in, start going on like going out more and just like doing more fun stuff, which is cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I think that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Like it's such a good way to get your time back because time is money as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's cool. That's cool.
Nice. Love it. Okay, so we are taking a bit of a turn left to a pop quiz that Ravi has surprised me with, which is very fun. So take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually had an idea to start the episode with this, but hey, we'll just do it.
We've
now.
arrived.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. What is a recent money memory that you're proud of?
A memory, or I think it's more like an action that I'm taking right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So Ollie and I are actually investing in Kernel today.
Oh,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Well, we have finally actually just decided to do it, and the cutoff is kind of like coming into fruition. So that's exciting. I'm actually kind of just looking forward to getting the money out of my bank and into the thing.
Yeah.
So that I can then look towards the next goal, which for us is travel in April. Yeah. So feeling pretty good about that.
Nice.
How about you?
The one that I was going to talk about was actually the cleaning thing, but I'll come up with something else. One thing that I'm proud of is having a little bit of like reflection with myself and identifying that, and I'll give you context of this, but like identifying that August and January for me and my finances suck.
Why?
Because in January, a lot of like my insurance, like there's a lot of like recurring annual costs that come out in Jan, right? Which is like insurances and like house contents insurance and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And in August, there's like, I've got like a lot of like, for some reason, it's always ended up in August and Jan is like a lot of like annual like dentist appointments and just like admin-y stuff that comes up every year.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they've fallen into these like 2 months of the year. And I'd always get to these like 2 months of the year and be like, I'm like, damn it. I'm like spending all like I'm like having to take a little bit of money out of savings, or like having to dip into my like, not emergency fund, but like I have like another account that's kind of like short-term savings.
Yeah.
And like taking a little bit of money out of there. And I'd always get like really disappointed with myself. And I'd always like question myself. I'm like, oh, am I actually going backwards? And I'd get really scared.
Because you'd planned for these expenses and then they came up.
Well, I never really planned for them. They just like always came up in August before I realized that they were like, this is just like this time.
Yeah.
And so like it took like a moment for me to be like, to like actually dig in deeper and be like, why do I feel like this? Okay, like there's all these costs coming. Okay, why do I have these costs? Are there annual costs that are all coming out in the same month? And then the same thing. And then I found out, I was like, oh, Jan's actually the same thing.
Yeah, right.
And so like, I had to be like, with myself, I had to be like, it's okay to feel like that in August, and know that when it comes to Jan next year and August next year, things are going to be a little tight. So like having that like reflection and view on yourself to be like, actually things like happen in seasons. Like I'm a huge believer in seasons, and like sometimes like not everything's just going to be like a straight line up, and like identifying with yourself, like maybe there are some like tricky months of the year where like you might not be like hitting your savings targets, or like things feel a bit more expensive. It's actually a really good thing for like your mental self to next time be like, oh, August is coming up, maybe I should like save a little bit more in July, or December be like, okay, I've got to think about Christmas, but I've also got to think about like January too.
Yeah.
And just like having that awareness about what your finances are doing, not on just like a weekly basis, but on like a yearly basis.
Yeah, for sure.
So like proud of that. It's a really small thing, but like proud.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So are you proud of the fact that you have like come to a place where you can say that that's a good thing, or are you like planning more towards that? Or?
I'm planning more towards that. Yeah. And then like communicating it with my partner too. So I'm like, oh, like I didn't know this, but like actually August and Jan sucks. And she's like, cool, well, it's like let's just chill out in those months. Like let's not go out to dinners or stuff, and let's like do more stuff at home, or like maybe we give these things a rest or whatever. Like it's just like having that awareness that like things happen in seasons, and they'll like the good thing about seasons is that they happen all the time, so you can plan for them.
Yeah. Nice.
I
love that. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then my other question, my final question of the pop quiz is, what's a money memory or experience that you're embarrassed about?
I kind of feel embarrassed. Oh, I feel like weird saying this. I feel embarrassed that I have spent so much money on my health recently, but it's a double-sided thing, because my health is really what I value, and so I think it's just overcoming, like almost letting myself do that.
Yeah.
But I think when I actually have broken down on a weekly basis, how much was I spending on exercise?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But now I've like kind of pulled back a little bit, so I feel good about where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I think that feels embarrassing.
So like,
so it's like, it's weird because that's what I value, but also there's still like money regret, kind of like shame around that.
Is it because you were trying to figure out what you liked, and so you had to go and try a bunch of new things to figure out, and then like you finally found the thing, and so that's what it is?
I'd love to say that that's the case. It was, well, kind of like I got a PT, and I wanted to test it out. and be consistent and try to do more weights to build my core strength because my back has been real sore as well. But I just found the like cost to benefit wasn't high enough, basically. But also my back pain is still here. So I'm like, well, clearly it's not that, you know?
Yeah.
And so I tried it, but it wasn't enough for me to continue. But at the same time, I also figured out that like, if I don't have accountability in some form with my exercise, I am not going.
Yeah.
So like, I will never go to a gym
Yeah.
where I just go and work out. Like I have to go to a class
Yeah.
and have either financial consequence of not showing up
Yeah.
or like people there holding me accountable to that. And I think that was both of those things in a PT is you're paying to be there unless you cancel 24 hours before and you've got this person like talking you through and that kind of stuff. So I think that was good.
Yeah.
But I also am now like, well, what exercise do I do? Like, well, and the conclusion is I do classes and I'm really into Pilates, so I'm doing that. But yeah.
Isn't that a valuable like learning?
Yeah, it
though?
is. But I just feel like it's a lot of money. I'm
Yeah.
like, did I really need to spend like X amount per PT to figure that out? Or could I just have like tried it? I also got a gym membership on top of that because you have to pay for the gym membership to go to the PT.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I've cancelled both now. So
Yeah.
I'm like not doing that while I was also doing Pilates. So
Oh, wow.
it was very expensive.
Yeah.
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 But I also didn't go to Europe in the summer like everyone else did. So, you know, it's trade-offs.
Yeah. You're working towards the Europe summer bond
In
anyway,
April,
so
yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
So how about you? What's something that you...
I have a bad one.
Oh, no.
This is bad.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's bad because it's just dumb. See, like your one, you're at least trying to like figure something out, work towards something good. This is dumb. I really hope James, my financial advisor, doesn't hear this. But I'm sure he knows.
I reckon we're making a clip out of this one.
So I have a really bad knack recently of Ubering things around.
Like
So
not
not
people.
myself.
Oh, my God, Ravi.
Things.
Oh, my God.
So like a classic example on Monday morning, I forgot my gym bag, and so I asked my partner. I called an Uber to my house and asked my partner to put the gym bag in the Uber, and the Uber took it to the office, and I picked it up from the office. Now, that's a very expensive Korea trip. What is it like? What is it like? The standard Korea for
Korea,
like
yeah.
Korea for in New Zealand is like what, $6? It was like
I think it really depends where it's going, maybe.
yeah, or maybe $10.
I reckon it's at least 10. Yeah, sure.
This was $25. My
Okay.
gym bag got a personal chauffeur from my house to my work because this guy couldn't remember to pick it up in the morning. And I've been doing that a lot recently.
Okay.
And over like dumb stuff. Like it's mostly gym stuff. It's mostly like I forgot my gym bag, forgot my gym shoes. So the mental thought behind it was like, and the thing is like I would realize in the car, right? So I'd like be like, oh, I forgot my gym bag. But I'm like, I have to keep moving forward because my days are so busy. I'm like, I can't
Let
like
this slow me
I
down.
can't, I can't let this slow me down. I was like, my day has to continue.
So what? You're so committed to the gym that you're like, I can't skip it
Yep.
today because this is key to my success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And my wallet is paying for it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I every time I do it, I'm like, this is so dumb.
So it's the time cost, like the trade-off is the time cost of, let's say, going home to get the
Yeah.
thing, coming back,
Yeah.
versus like the actual monetary cost. Because, yeah. Although, okay, if you were taking the Uber yourself, that's the same cost, really.
Yep.
Or you take a car, you're still spending petrol
Yeah.
to get home, but it's definitely probably not $25.
It's not $25.
Yeah, plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is like it's starting to creep into like more dumb stuff. So like gym stuff I can understand, right?
Yeah.
I forgot my umbrella this morning
Oh my God,
in my
Ravi.
car, and it started raining outside, and I was like, the thought popped in my head, right? And this is the thing, the thought popped in my head, I could Uber it to the car park. And it'll probably meet me at the same time I get to the car. And I was like, no, Ravi. I was like, you're gone too far, sir. You need to pull it back in.
How did you even, I reckon, what is the source of this idea to start with?
So,
Did someone else do it or something?
so Matt, our managing director, did this once on a random weekend, and he told me about it, and he was like, here's a hack. You just get Ubers to bring you stuff everywhere. And I was like, low key, I was like, oh, that's kind of genius. Like, I guess it's like a fast way of like you not having to like move, and you just like get stuff couriered. And as long as like, I don't know, the courier driver doesn't steal or the Uber driver doesn't steal your stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, there's a bit of a risk.
Yeah. It's like never take a laptop anywhere or anything like that. But like, I was like, oh, this is kind of smart. And so I like started doing it. And then, it's gotten a little bit out of control recently. So I definitely need to rein it in and like not forget my stuff.
I tend to agree, but I also think it's quite funny.
It's like next time I come on, it's like...
Yeah, how are the Ubers?
Yeah.
Do we need to block your account? Maybe that's what you should do. You should cut yourself off.
No, don't know.
Take or unconnect
Control my environment and delete my Uber account?
Take your own advice.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
Well, do you use Uber a lot to actually like go places?
I do use it to like go places, to be fair.
Does work pay for it?
Because
you can just start charging it to work.
Yeah. I mean, cut this bit out.
Yeah.
Company expense. So that's something I'm definitely embarrassed about. And the frequency it's happening is kind of concerning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The worst thing about it is when you start getting the emails of like, you would save X amount of dollars on like Uber One, and it's like a reasonable amount of money you would save, and you're like, oh.
Maybe you need like the monthly subscription thing.
Yeah, but
is that worse or better?
No, it's not great. I think you only save like a few bucks off every ride or something. Okay. I thought it was like a subscription.
If you're doing it every second day, that's like girl math.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's my embarrassing moment.
Yeah, nice. That's a good one. That's definitely better than mine.
Yeah.
So what is your next financial goal?
Ooh.
What are we working towards? Also, what is the like? This is retirement look like? If you've got 3 houses now, you're clearly on the way, and you said that you needed another house to get to that goal.
Yeah. I've painted you my retirement picture before, haven't I?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's set the scene.
Yeah. So, your boy's always been a city boy.
Yes.
Doesn't always want to be a city boy.
Oh, I've heard this. Yes, but the listener needs to hear. Yeah.
So I have 2 great friends who are based down in Gisborne, and their parents own a citrus orchard in Gizzy. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Gizzy, great place. And I went there once, I think like 4 or 5 years ago, and I went. It was like an 8-hour drive there, and I went to just go like spend some time with them. Mm-hmm. I think it was like off the back of an R&V or something, and it was like. I remember the like feeling of like driving, and you drive down this like beautiful long driveway with like trees canopying like the driveway, and you kind of like go quite a long way, and you roll up, and it's like the single story house with like a pool and like a little like tennis court, and then like a giant orchard. Mm-hmm. Now this isn't like super baller. I'm not talking about like baller Riviera like mansion or anything, like, because in Gizzy like space is fine, right? And like lots of people have like pools, and like it wasn't super flash.
Yeah.
But it was like, and they had like chickens and like lots of livestock and stuff. And I spent about 10 days there, and I had never felt so like relaxed and at peace with my life ever before. And so I think after that trip, I like vowed to myself, I was like, that's what I want like my retirement / like the rest of my life to look like. Yeah. And I was like, I need to work towards getting myself to a position where I can afford that, but basically like in Auckland with Auckland prices. So good luck to me.
Oh, really? So you want that bit in Auckland?
I want that, or like out of Auckland. Yeah.
Like QMU vibes.
Yeah, like QMU or like
Matakana.
Yeah, like Matakana.
Although Matakana's
amazing.
Expensive.
Yeah. But even like south of Auckland, just like out near like Drury, Clevedon ways, you can kind of pick stuff up like that. So my dream is, I have a very particular dream. It has to be a long, windy driveway to a
Not straight.
Not straight. It has to be windy. It has to kind of
Okay.
like take you on a little bit of a journey. Like you have to feel like
Ah,
you're
yeah. Ooh,
kind of transforming into
mysterious.
another world sort of thing. It has to kind of like feel like a mini road trip. You know, like the
Yeah.
feeling of like, say you stay at like an Airbnb somewhere and you have to like go down the weird driveway and it's like, oh, where are we going? And there's like a little like gravel road and stuff. I want it to be that.
Yeah.
I want you to feel like you're like definitely out of civilization. You're off the main road and you're kind of like on your own little adventure.
Yeah.
And then I want to pull up to the house and there has to be like a U driveway, or like a U-shaped like garage situation where you don't have to reverse your car out. You can just like drive around.
Yeah.
And like that's what they had at their place. You could like, there was like this semicircle thing where you can just kind of drive around. I don't know why. I just love the idea of that. And then we would have like like a big single story house, and my parents would live in like a wing, and then my partner's mum would live in the other wing. Mm-hmm. And the idea of that is like we're a Indian family, and like the idea of retirement for Indians is actually very different to like what I guess like European retirements look like. Mm-hmm. Like it's very seldom that you see like South Asian retirees in retirement homes. Usually they live with their children.
Yeah.
So that's something that like is still super close to me. And like, I think as I've grown up, like I've realized actually how much like I never used to get along with my parents until I actually matured. And I was like, holy fuck, my parents have done a fuckload for me. Like they've basically like given up their hopes and dreams and like everything they've dreamt of doing to like raise me and my brother. And I gave them a lot of shit for it because I was a really bad teenager and like a really bad kid. And so I was like, I can't make up for that time that I've lost being a bad teenager. But what I can make up for is like making sure they have a really, really good like later life and retirement. So I was like, whatever the plan is, we're going to look after them. And so I want to like have a place where like they can feel like some kind of independence, but they still live on the property, and like we still spend a lot of time together. And like my dad's a green thumb, so like him
cool.
having like a really big garden is really cool.
That's nice.
Having some like chickens and like a little bit of livestock. We want like 3 dogs. It started off with 1.
You're going to need a lot more cleaners.
Yeah.
And a gardener and a...
So me and my fiance love dogs, and we started off with 1 dog, and then we're like, nah, the dog has to have a mate though. So like 2 dogs. And then we're like, nah,
we need a herd.
Yeah, we need a herd. And we want those like little Highland cows.
Oh
you know, the
my
big
God.
fluffy ones that don't do anything. They just like look there and be cute. We want a couple of them.
Oh my goodness.
Some goats, because like goats are gangster.
Are they? I
Yeah,
feel
they're
like
cool.
apparently they eat everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who's going to mow the lawns, Christine.
The lawnmower. The cows. Oh, I love this.
And we want some like chickens and stuff. So we want this like half like livestock, half like farm sort of thing.
Nice.
But we don't want it to be like a working farm or anything. We just want it to be like a chill farm.
Okay, nice.
And we want it to be a place where like our parents can like spend the rest of their lives, and we spend time with each other, and that like we can care for them when they get older.
Yeah.
So that's the dream. And the other thing is like me and my fiance love archery.
Oh.
Really weird thing that we love doing together, but we absolutely love it. Every like once in a while we'll go down to, have you been to, I can't remember the name of it. There's like a claybird shooting place down south that's in an olive grove.
No, I've never done claybird shooting.
It's amazing. You should go with Holly.
Okay.
It's a really cool experience. So
Okay,
you like
cool.
go there. It's an olive grove, so it's like beautiful scenery on this like little lake, and they have like claybird shooting, archery, and then like air rifle target shooting.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Nice.
And you go there, you buy a package, and you just like hang out there. The guy Tim, he's like a laugh.
Shout out to Tim.
Yeah, shout out to Tim. He's amazing. We literally go because of him.
Oh,
Like
yeah, I
the
love
first
that.
few times, we had to be like, "Can we book this thing, but only if Tim's on?"
Oh.
And they were like, okay, fine, whatever. It was like, so you're not here for the clip? And I was like, nah, I'm just here for the chat with Tim. And Tim smokes a lot of cigarettes. He's like, they're classic like English gentleman that smokes a lot, and like would go and buy him a pack of cigarettes and stuff. It's great. It's great.
So
and so we once in a while go there. Anyway, we want an archery like field. Yeah, they're called fields.
Just
right?
like a paddock.
A paddock with
archery
like
things.
yeah.
Okay,
and so like that's the dream.
nice.
Yeah.
I'm hearing like there's a lot of work in your future. And maybe a bit of a price tag on this like big fields.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So have you kind of mapped out exactly this is roughly what this would cost in this area?
Yeah.
And then plus inflation and growth of property price or whatever.
Yeah, so we've got I had an idea of what I wanted, and then we at work we have financial advisors who do exactly what you talked about. So like they'll like figure out where you're at the moment, figure out what you want, and then like work backwards to be like, well, these are the steps you need to take, and like either you need to take more steps and be more aggressive with what you're doing in terms of investing, or you could kind of take a step back a little bit and be like, actually, you're on a really good path. Why don't you enjoy now a little bit more?
Yeah.
So I sat down with James, who's our wealth director, and we worked through like where we're at and what we wanted, and I painted him the picture. And the picture includes a few like nice cars and some jet skis and stuff too.
And some snowboarding gear.
Yeah, some snowboarding gear and like, you know, your own personal Uber and stuff like that.
AKA a car.
Yeah. And I like painted him the picture. He was like, cool. We kind of put some numbers together. And so like that's our financial plan. And so every year we catch up to be like, and that's where the townhouse purchase came from. He was like, you need to buy another house to meet the goals that you want to meet.
Yeah.
And so so that's where like we catch up every year and we do all the things that he says for us to do to hit our goal. And then every year we check in to go like, oh, well, how much closer are we to the goal? Yeah. Is there anything that needs to change? And a lot of the time, including this year, the goal changes because like you change as a couple and that's the cool thing about it is like it's never really this thing that's set in stone. It's kind of just like things you figure out. Yeah. Like one of the things we learned was like last year, I wanted to get to that place as soon as possible. So I was like, I want to buy it in like 5 years or like 6 years. Wow. Yeah. And so he was like, you're gonna have to work bloody hard to get there in 6 years, but like we can do it if you want. Like if that's what you want, we can do it. And I was like, yeah,
I'm taking up photography again.
Yeah, I was like, I want to get to the lifestyle block. I want to like live that life. And then this year, we've actually realized that we actually really love the place that we're in. Alicia's about to start her like brand new career basically after a PhD, and I really love my career. So like this year, we're gonna have to be like, well, the lifestyle block might hold off, which is actually great for the financial plan, and we're just going to stay where we want to stay. But then that means like maybe that means like we can enjoy now a little bit more. Maybe we can go out a little bit more or get more tattoos or whatever. But like, you know, like it's cool that like it changes, and then like your life changes and your plan does too, and so you kind of like make different decisions.
Yeah, nice. Love it. Yeah, I'm like, I need to map my stuff out more after hearing that. I really like the level of detail that you've kind of gone to, and maybe that's what's needed to make sure that you're actually tracking towards what your ideal retirement looks like, or even just also the lifestyle that you want to live. Because I mean, I don't think that I'm never not going to work. Because what do you do with your day otherwise, other than have enough money to maybe travel and that kind of stuff? But yeah, I feel like that's very validating for a financial plan for sure.
Yeah, and like, you know, I talked about like life is in seasons. So like, there's definitely a world where I would love to like give back to the community, and the way that I see it is like helping like South Auckland, because I grew up in South Auckland, and like we never had access to financial education or financial advice. So like, how do we get education and advice out to people who need it the most? Yeah. And we know like the financial industry is unfortunately catered towards those who like have the means to afford it, and really the ones that really need the help are the ones that can't afford it. Yeah. So like a big mission for me would be like to eventually get to a place where I could do something like that. Cool. And it's like I could do that now, or I could work on like building my own knowledge, building my own experience, and like building myself up to have an asset base to then do something significant later on in life. And I think having that understanding is quite important, because I reckon as like humans, we get so caught up in trying to do everything right now. Want to build the career. I want to give back to the community. I want to spend heaps of time with my partner, all of these things, but we're so guilty of trying to do it all at once, and like having the understanding of like doing things in seasons. Be like, for the next 3 months, I'm going to focus on my like career, or 6 months, I'm going to focus on my career. I'm going to work really hard, but that gives me the ability to do this in the future. I think that's a really like powerful thing, and something that I've like learned over the years is like things happen in seasons. Yeah. And what you're in right now doesn't happen forever. So like, just be okay with the fact that you might be working really hard now, but that's so you can don't have to work hard in the future. Yeah. You have to, you know, if it's like coming up to summer, you have to work out really hard for summer, you know, like that's not going to be forever. Yeah. So like when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the grind, like understand that that's not your forever, and you will like get through it. Yeah. And so yeah, like the whole like seasonality thing is something that like I love. Like it's helped me out so much, just knowing that like good times don't last forever, bad times don't last forever, but like if you just like take one day at a time, it'll work out.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many messages in there about like compounding habits over time. Yeah. It's taking a long view, growth is exponential, all those things. But I think the thing that resonates with me the most is the like, I think we're both probably at an age where there's a lot of paths we can take. Totally. And it's like, you know, it's like, do you move overseas? Do you have kids? Do you buy a house? Do you invest elsewhere? Like so many options. And I appreciate that is a privilege, absolutely, to be able to choose one of those things or multiple of those things. But it also comes with like opportunity cost. If I choose this, then that means that. If I don't choose this, what is going to happen? And then that's stressful and anxiety inducing and things like that. Like, what have you found that's kind of calmed you down, I guess, in a lot of ways, to be in a place where you're like, okay, I'm happy doing this thing for a year. Yeah. Or
deleting Instagram? Yeah. No,
so it is the comparison trap.
It's the like, I honestly think, for me at least, it's like the comparison trap. It's like just spending time with yourself and like figuring out what you want, and all of those decisions become a hell of a lot easier when there's not multiple people influencing you. And when you don't have like society's views on what you should be doing, you know, whether it's like settling down with somebody or having a kid or even buying a house. Like if you don't want to buy a house and you want to like rent all over the world because you want to travel the world, you totally do that. Yeah. But don't let like society or like what other people think influence that. Yeah. And so for me personally, it sounds really dumb and real cliche, but like honestly deleting fucking Instagram and just like being alone with myself for a while and like my own thoughts like has really helped me. Just like yourself, like your own, like figuring out who you are and what you like and what you don't like, I think is super important. Can't be overlooked.
But don't delete. It's no secret.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You keep that Spotify open, okay?
You keep listening.
The Spotify premium fee is in your financial plan. Don't worry about it. You keep that going.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Isn't it why I just realized that a lot of people that might be watching this has probably come from Instagram, so that's probably
that's fine.
Yeah, I was on the wrong side of Instagram. Let's just say that.
That's okay. Well, actually, I was like, what other podcasts do I listen to and where do I find them? I'm actually a big fan of Call Her Daddy at the moment. Have you?
Ooh, yes, I have heard.
Love Alex. She's hilarious. But I don't think I only recently started following her on Instagram. I feel like once you start listening, and maybe listeners of the pod, feel free to give us some feedback. Yeah. Once it is, you find a good podcast and then you just like wait for the next ones, or like when you're in the moment where you're kind of cooking dinner or something, you're like, oh, okay, which podcast would I go back to? Yeah. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much, Ravi, for giving us all the juicy goss and painting the retirement picture for us. I love this lifestyle for you in the future.
I'll invite you for archery.
Yeah, please. Yeah. Need to, I mean, if anyone in the listening to the podcast wants to get into archery or snowboarding, I think Ravi's your guy.
Yeah, man. So, let's hang out.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Do you know where you'll find me?
Lighthouse.
Yeah, at the office, because I'm always working.
Okay, so how do we find you there? Lighthouse Financial.
Yeah. So I mean, quick plug to Lighthouse Financial. Great company. Have been there for like 3 years, 2.5 years or something. We're a team of financial advisors, mortgage brokers, accountants, insurance advisors, basically like everything in your financial life you could think of, we look after, but all under one roof. So instead of having like multiple people that you have to manage, you just talk to one person and one team. And yeah, we have like over 4,000 clients across New Zealand. You know, we've settled like over 1,000 properties and have a pretty cool podcast too. So check out Checks and Balances.
Yeah,
and
nice.
Yeah.
Love it. You guys are the Whitakers of financial advice, right?
yeah. Plug 5-year presentation vibes. Yeah.
So
we're not
good.
the roses of we're not the roses of financial advice. We're the Whitakers of financial advice.
Boom.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. Okay, cool. Well, with that, listeners of the pod, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe wherever you're tuning in, whether that's video on YouTube or listening to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you have questions, feel free to get in touch at It's No Secret NZ on Instagram. You can either send us all your feedback or episode requests or anything in between. But otherwise, thanks for listening and we'll see you next week.